The Chaser Report is recorded on Gadigal land.
Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report with Dom and Charles. And Dom, I've got absolutely terrible news.
Really?
Yes.
What's happened? You look sort of slumped over the table here.
Yes.
Looking sad.
Well, we've got competition.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Tony Abbott is setting up his own podcast.
Really?
Yes.
Because Malcolm Turnbull did that, didn't he? He had all these sort of worthy defending democracy interviews with world leaders. I don't think anyone listened to it.
Yeah.
Who would do a podcast with Tony Abbott? Is he doing it with Mia Friedman? That'd be an interesting combination. They might disagree on a few things.
Well, they live near each other. No, he's doing it with Peter Credlin.
Peter Credlin.
What a surprise.
His former chief of staff.
Yeah.
Is there anything that they would disagree on? Or would it just be, good point, Peter. Oh, well said, Tony. Oh, that reminds us of when we were briefly running the country for 2 years and then got kicked out. Oh, we did a good job, didn't we?
So let's have a chat about that after this break. It's a complete disaster. I think it's time to get out of pocket. When Tony Abbott gets into something, I think that's the signal that you should get out of it.
Either that or it's finally become a mass medium, or it's the only medium that will have him. Is that possible? Do you think he's tried to get sort of chat show jobs? Because he's very keen to share his opinions these days. I don't know if you remember when they had the parliamentary inquiry into The Voice.
Yes.
Tony Abbott was just very keen to give evidence to it, and they were kind of like, Tony, it's fine. We kind of know what you think about it.
As the former Minister for Indigenous Affairs.
He was very keen to get in there. So is that what this is for? Is this simply going to be him and Peter Credlin agreeing that The Voice is terrible every episode?
Well,
forever?
it is true. It says he's going to talk about The Voice and gender issues.
Oh, wow.
You are absolutely right.
So the two things he was Minister for, women and Aboriginal affairs. So is he or Peter Credlin Indigenous? I don't recall Tony Abbott being Indigenous. Perhaps Peter Credlin is. Otherwise, that sounds quite like, I don't know, doing every episode about The Voice without having any Indigenous perspective on The Voice, which I suppose is what he wants, right?
Yeah, so I'm just having a look here. This is in the Australian Financial Review. It is true that Malcolm Turnbull did a total of 8 episodes of his own podcast, but he introduced quite interesting sounding people.
Oh, really?
Like Theresa May.
Theresa May.
Yeah, failed
So as
PM.
a sort of form of flop Prime Minister's
Flop
convention.
Prime Ministers.
Wow.
Filipino journalist Maria Ressa. I don't
Oh,
know
didn't she win a Nobel Prize or something? She's
okay.
genuinely a big deal.
Yep. And Wentworth MP Allegra Spender, which is quite interesting.
Oh, right. Who I wouldn't be at all surprised. Might have got a little bit of a help from Malcolm. Do we know whether he donated to her campaign? I bet he did.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out, won't we?
In the podcast.
Yeah,
I suppose.
that's right.
You can go and listen to that, but you won't. But Julia Gillard's got one too called A Podcast of One's Own, if I recall.
Oh, really?
A witty title.
See, I just wish podcasting had been around when Bob Hawke was around, because
That's true.
he would have been a master of the pod.
Well, also, he would have done them drunk, which it would have been basically drunk history.
It would have
with
been
Bob Hawke.
It would have been basically the Chaser Report.
It would have been very entertaining. Paul Keating, I don't think you won't see doing a podcast.
No, he wouldn't sully himself.
It's not his thing. His thing is just angry letters. That's what he does.
Right.
He wouldn't want to. It'd be great, actually, if he just read out every angry letter. Perhaps you could pitch it to him on our new network that we're making.
Yeah.
It's just Keating. No one talking with him, of course, because he wouldn't want to share the mic with anyone.
No,
Just
yes.
Paul shouting that the current Australian government doesn't respect China enough.
A bit of a disaster from our perspective.
Sure. Do you think they'll take our ad revenue?
But, well, yeah, I think we're going to be edged out of this lucrative podcasting. There's not enough room for 2 people in podcasting.
That's true. And they would be the direct competitor. In terms of making fun of Tony Abbott, it's quite hard to beat a podcast actually hosted by Tony Abbott.
Tony Abbott.
Yeah, that's tough. That's very tough.
But the thing is, the other disaster commercially for the Chaser is that there's this new social network that we talked about last week.
Oh, yes.
Threads. You know, it's completely destroyed Twitter already.
Well, I mean, to be fair to Elon Musk, that was already well underway before Threads launched.
But 70 million users in the first 3 days.
Wow.
And if you log on to Twitter, I don't know about you, but my following page has tweets from about 3 or 4 days ago. Like no one
no one's
that
on it
I
anymore.
followed has bothered to tweet in the last 3 or 4 days. But also what it means is the chaser has to start again. We accumulated like hundreds of thousands of people on Twitter.
Oh, that's annoying.
And now we've got 30,000 on Threads, and it's going to be, we've got to do this whole slog
And we've
again.
got @Chaser on Twitter, and at one point I registered @Chaser on Instagram, and someone somehow stole it.
Yes.
So we've got Chaser War, which is
which is fucking shit
bad
handle. Yeah.
I don't know how to get Chaser back. If anyone knows, let us know. But no, so we've got to get our following again. But the other thing about Threads is it's not actually, the more I use it, the more it's not really a replacement for Twitter.
Oh, really?
Because it's not in real time. This is the whole thing.
Oh.
The people who run Threads are going, yeah, we don't really want to do news or politics particularly. So you can't, the whole thing to find out what's happening now when there's a coup underway or something.
Yeah.
Is
Is there a
or there's
coup
any
under?
news?
We're talking about burying the lead on this podcast.
I just know that if there was another coup underway, let's say January 6th.
Yes.
Let's say Scott Morrison tried to, aggregate most powers in the Australian government to himself. You can't find out what's happening in real time.
Yes.
So it's basically, what my experience of it is, people who you follow on Instagram but you don't really want to read what they have to say.
Yes.
You have to follow them because it's sort of automatic.
Yes.
And you can't unfollow them because then it's awkward.
No.
So I think it's not going to be very interesting. That's my theory. It's not actually going to be as good.
What you do, and I've done this because I follow you on Instagram, but then I saw you all threading or whatever it's called. So what you do is you mute.
Oh, you mute? Did you
mute
mute me? Oh, is that what you did?
Yeah.
I've only done one thread, I think. Is it a thread or is it a post? I don't know what we're calling these
I
things.
don't know. Yeah.
No, I don't know how well it's going to last, but no, it's going to kill the chaser too, because the whole point of us on social media is it's just happened. Here's a joke about it.
Yeah, because then the joke doesn't have to be quite as good as a timeless joke.
There's a dedicated team of people, from what I understand, Charles, who, whenever something happens, immediately make all possible appalling jokes and then delete the ones that people say, you shouldn't have said that, that's horrible.
Yes,
isn't that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Whereas on Threads, that's just not, there's nothing topical. I looked at it. It's actually,
really?
It is weirdly not topical. So perhaps it doesn't matter so much to us.
Well, we'll just have to go into timeless comedy. Or we'll just have to stick with this podcasting thing if we weren't being edged out by fucking Tony Abbott.
What is the deal with airline food? Anyway, no, we should actually listen to the Tony Abbott podcast and review it, because something tells me a lot of people are not going to listen to it, given that it's on Sky News, which already has laughably few listeners. Do you reckon it'll rate worse than us? I suspect it will.
Oh, for sure, definitely. Yeah, we're actually quite a high rating.
It is quite high rating. Should we invite Tony Abbott and Peter Credlin onto the podcast to promote it?
Yes, bit of cross promotion.
Oh, wouldn't that be a not at all awkward conversation?
But I imagine that even so, they're being paid more than us.
Oh, definitely.
You know, it'll be one of those Sky News things where Murdoch just shovels money to.
Well, what is Tony doing for money these days? Didn't he have some bizarre UK trade envoy job? Like, wasn't he actually being paid by the UK government to promote UK trade, which seemed like a very odd choice at one point? Yeah,
I think so. I don't know.
It was the idea that by him basically staying in Australia and being part of the Australian media, people would just want to trade with any other market to avoid Tony Abbott.
He might. I'm sure he does a bit of DoorDash and Uber Eats and stuff.
You reckon?
Yeah,
So a few deliveries on the bike.
Bit of jobbing.
He'd definitely do it on the bike, wouldn't he?
Yeah, because especially in this market, there's not a huge call for. Because you can sort of do a Tony Abbott. You'd probably be able to just put Tony Abbott's speeches into ChatGPT.
Oh, for sure.
And then regurgitate his opinions about gender and the voice.
So they would
they're
be
not
a
gonna-
lot better.
They're not going to be
There's
surprising.
nothing new to say, is there?
No. Yeah.
But I guess part of the problem, Charles, with the very tumultuous period we've had in Australian politics in recent years, there's too many ex-PMs. There used to be, 2 or 3 at any one time.
Yes.
But now there's, like, post-Howard, who's the oldest, they're all still alive. There's just an absolute glut of them. We managed to get Kevin off to Washington and give him something useful to do.
That was good thinking by Albo.
That was good thinking. And also, the great thing about Kevin being the ambassador is that he can't say anything. He can't share his opinions on every single news story the way every other ex-PM except Julia Gillard does.
Oh, really?
So, because he can't. He's got to represent the Australian government. So he's got to give Albo's opinion, not his own, which frankly is a huge relief.
So that's why he quit the anti-Murdoch Royal Commission.
Yeah, and all that
committee.
sort of stuff. He had to do it
Because
Albo's not against the Murdoch Royal
No,
Commission.
that's right.
Because they like him at the moment.
Yes. Oh, Jesus. Okay.
So we just need to give Tony Abbott some sort of diplomatic. Couldn't he be the ambassador to the Vatican or something? I mean, well, that was what Tim Fisher was doing at one point, and that had absolutely no consequence.
I think he should, when The Voice gets up,
Yes.
he should run it.
He should be on The Voice. Well, he'd have more experience than anyone else, wouldn't he, as a former Minister for Indigenous Affairs?
Yeah.
And as he never tired of reminding us, he would occasionally go and spend up to 3 days on country at a time, just to hear all their problems and then go back to Canberra and do absolutely nothing about them.
Or he could, I mean, what else could he do? He could, the commissioner, is there a anti-discrimination commissioner for women or something? Like, is there some sort of...
Yeah, there's a sex discrimination commissioner. Yes, there
Yeah.
is. He'd be well
He'd be
positioned to
very
do that.
well qualified.
He would definitely be
Yes.
able to say that there was no sex discrimination in every single thing that crossed his desk, I think. Maybe he should get involved in the Brittany Higgins affair. I think that's the only way that it could possibly get worse. Is Tony Abbott somehow
Tony Abbott.
just getting involved and trying to host the whole thing down.
The Chaser Report. News you can't trust.
Oh, the other thing is, I thought you might be able to help me, Dom.
Oh, yeah.
Because, heading towards disaster, we've got podcast competitors. we've got
Yes.
threads happening.
Threads is happening.
This is the point at which, like, July is when I've got to work out what merch to do for Christmas.
Oh, no. Are you going to try that again?
Yeah, because I've actually got a whole lot of ideas. Do you want me to run you through
Run
some
me
of the
through
ideas?
some of the ideas, because this has been a very incoherent episode.
Yeah, because the whole thing is it's all a disaster.
Sure.
And
Well, why not make the same inflatable avocado in a different colour?
No. But I want to avoid disasters anymore. But
Okay.
given that our other business models, I think we're going to have to really rely on merch this year.
Okay.
For all our income.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll pitch you here. Just in
He's
no
got a
particular order.
notebook, dear listener. He's actually
Yeah.
written notes in a notebook with a pen.
So I think we should have some PwC merchandise.
Oh, yeah.
Profits without conscience type sort of things. Like, and what about a notebook which just says on the front, secret notes to leak to the highest bidder or something like that?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Will people still care about PwC in December?
Oh,
They won't-
absolutely.
They're not going to be ethical by December.
the
They want
only-
to turn it around.
What about a series? So you can buy little toy submarines quite cheaply.
Oh, that's good.
In China. I was seeing a little set of 8 AUKUS submarines and sell them for $368 billion.
Why didn't we get our submarines from China?
Yeah, because...
Oh, that's right, because they're designed to provoke China. Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole thing is that even if you only had one buyer, the profit, which I think you would, which should be the Australian government, the profit margin on that, because you could get like a pack of 8 for, say, $8 or something, sell them for $368 billion.
Well, you could put the price as $368 billion on the website and then discount it to $29.95.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the box could say, arrived 23 years before the AUKUS subs on them.
And the great thing is, each sub can be named after something that it could otherwise have been spent on. So I was thinking
yes.
like healthcare,
Yep.
education.
That's good.
Childcare.
Literally
aged
anything
care.
else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally anything else.
That's good. Homelessness.
Yeah. Then I was thinking, you know how they always do those sort of novelty books where it's actually just a notepad, it's just a blank thing. The PwC Code of Ethics, and you just have a blank notepad. You just have a
That's not
blank
bad.
book.
What about Guess Who? You know that classic board game Guess Who?
Yeah.
Where they're all Scott Morrison in different jobs.
It would sell though.
It would be
wouldn't
quite
Yeah.
hard to play because the answer you'd say, is it a self-satisfied looking dipshit in glasses? And you have to put down every single time. What if is it the Minister for Trade?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The next one, it's funny you mentioned board games because I had my own idea for a board game, which is Ozpoly instead of Monopoly. And the whole idea is, do you want me to run you through it? It's quite involved.
You've worked it out in quite a bit of detail.
Yeah. Like I've got Mayfair and Park Lane would be the Teals.
Oh, yeah.
Old Kent Road and that other one would be the UAP, the United Australia Party.
Yes.
Regent Street, the green strip would be the Libs, I reckon. Then the yellows would be the Nats. The reds would be Labor.
Wouldn't the Greens be the Greens?
Well, no. But don't you think, just in terms of if you're looking at sort of demographics.
Well, the posh, don't you want you pour them all your posho ones? Or that?
Yeah.
Who's posher now, the Teals or the Lib?
Oh,
I'm not
the
sure.
Teals. Definitely.
Probably the Teals.
Yeah, the fucking Wentworth and Warringah.
And Kooyong. Yeah. Okay.
Then the orange ones, the sort of ones the best ones to get would be the greens.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah.
You should
no,
do this. Apparently,
and
it's
then-
incredibly easy to get your own Monopoly board. I mean, any community organisation can basically get their own Monopoly. I've seen heaps of fundraising ones over the years.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, then, because I was thinking then, like the stations, they could be 2, 7, 9 and 10. Like
The TV stations.
TV stations. The utilities could be fossil fuel lobbyists and say, I don't know, the tax office or whatever. Jail could be the new Anti-Corruption
the NAC.
Commission.
That's
the
good.
NAC.
Go to the NAC. Go directly to the NAC. Do not pass go. Yes.
Free parking could be Centrelink, maybe. I don't know. Or is that too unsound?
Free parking could be something, or it could be a think tank.
It should be a thing. Oh, yes, of course. It should be the Menzies Institute or something.
Yeah.
The Australia Institute. It would be. And then the whole idea, like with community chest, it'd be things like, your properties are negatively geared. Take $50 from the poorest payer on the table.
Oh, yes, and Chance could be full of leadership challenges.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So don't you think, there's something really quite... And then the houses would be how many MPs you have and how many senators you have. Like the hotels would be senators and the houses, you buy houses, you buy the... MPs.
Oh, you buy an MP,
yes,
and then you get a senator if you get. Oh, that's good because
if you
green
get 4
and red.
MPs, you get a senator.
That's very nice.
Yeah. Just a few more ideas.
That's a good idea.
I was thinking we do a PwC. I was very obsessed with PwC.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's going to be where all the anger comes from this year. So, PwC themed chaser wine.
Oh yeah,
called Secret Sold, and it would be like a sort of. The idea would be it's mushed up secrets that have fermented, that it's sort of...
Not sure about the metaphor on that one. But
tones of disappointment and betrayal. You know what I mean? It could, it's sort of...
Bad blood.
Yeah, bad blood. Oh, I like that, yes. A no brand brand of earmuffs for supporters of the No campaign.
Oh, yeah.
To block out all the noise and, anyone trying to explain to you...
Yeah. And if it gets up, the actual voice.
Yeah. If you don't know, don't bother finding out type thing. What about, I was thinking, how do we tap into that Craig Rucastle style, environmental consumer market?
Smart green. Yeah. You could release a chaser electric car.
Oh, yes.
Very
I like that. Yes. Shaped like an avocado.
Put some wheels on the ones.
I was thinking a carbon cap.
Oh, that's...
So you just have a cap with carbon on it?
Gosh, that's...
Yeah?
Admittedly, the kind of people who like that sort of thing would probably love that pun, as opposed to my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, should I keep going? I've got tons of stuff. I was thinking how to get into the, the parenting, early parents market.
That's my market. Yeah, absolutely.
So I was thinking, oversized wine glasses called Mummy's Medicine.
Oh, yeah. You can't tell me that hasn't been done.
Sure.
That's pretty good.
I think that's good. Sexy bedtime cards for new parents, and they all have things like, I'll put the baby to bed tonight, and you can sleep in.
That would go down very well at my house.
And then I was thinking, actually, you could have a whole range of little baby clothes and cleaning products called the futility range, baby care, bibs.
Because it was dirty once.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you go with mess printed on it already, so that it's already got pasta and tomato sauce and whatever spilt all over it.
Yes,
so
I
it
like
can't
that.
look any worse when it inevitably gets dirty.
Oh, that's very good. Yes. Oh, and something I can't remember. My handwriting is a bit sort of. I can't actually read it, but something about how you got lost dreams.
What a great point in the podcast. Yeah. I had some thoughts about lost dreams, but I can't articulate them.
Remember.
It's too sad a topic for me. Well, that's probably all we have time for today, except to say that we haven't actually hit the 6,000th listener yet.
6 millionth.
We haven't actually hit the 6 millionth listener yet, and that'll happen probably in the next week or so.
It will happen
We're getting
week.
very nearby.
Yes.
So thanks to everyone who emailed in. There's no chance any of you are still listening, presumably, at this point in the podcast. But if you are, we will work out who it's going to be very soon. There have been some very strong applications.
Yeah, and so email podcast@chaser.com.au. But also, if you've got any other merch suggestions for Christmas, please let me know, because I do have to organise that this week. So
Exciting.
Our gear is from Rode. We're part of the Iconoclast Network. Dom, unfortunately, I'm going to see you tomorrow.
See you then. or on the Tony Abbott podcast. Can't wait for that one. It's going to be epic.